And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, tonight's weather is showing a low pressure area in front, bringing gale force winds there to the coastal areas of the Panhandle, with the heaviest wind and rain over the central and southern areas, lighter to the north, and then gusty winds up here with snow and blowing snow and blizzard warning. Winter weather advisories out for the western Arctic coast there. Winds gusting 40 to 50 miles an hour, blowing snow up in that area. Otherwise, by comparison, winds are pretty light and fairly quiet here for the Bering Sea as well as southern Alaska. And then for the day Saturday, light snow here up to the north with western Arctic coast. Still pretty breezy with that blizzard warning out through Sunday up there. And light winds, scattered showers for the southern Bering Sea down to the Aleutians. And for the southeast coast, staying wet, periods of rain, but not as windy or as heavy on the precipitation as what rolled through there today. Low backing off a little bit there to the west. Down to the southwest, the next system follows a jet and stays well to the south of the area there, leaving quite an area of showers and light precipitation here for the Panhandle, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula area, spreading into Kodiak Island. Light snow up over the northeast interior. Still pretty breezy there for the western Arctic coast. Otherwise dry for the western interior areas. Really no change out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. For the coastal water forecast here for Saturday, south to southeast winds 30 to 35 knots. East winds 25 to 30 knots on the central coast, and anywhere from north to east winds 15 to 25 for the north coast. Inside channel areas, north winds 15 knots, Lynn Canal, Stevens Passage, northeast at 20, and southeast 30 knots tomorrow for the Clarence Strait area. 12-foot seas there, 17-foot seas here along Prince of Wales Island where the gale force winds are expected. And then for the day on Sunday, south coast, south winds 25 knots, east to southeast winds 20 to 30 knots for the north coast, and the inner channels here looking at southeast winds from Stevens Passage to Lynn Canal at 15 knots, Clarence Strait southeast at 20. Prince William Sound northeast at 15 tomorrow, North Gulf Coast northeast 20 to 25, east 20 for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay and Cook Inlet, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots. Moving on to Sunday for Cook Inlet, north winds 10 to 15 knots, light northwest at 15 for Kamishak Bay, north at 20 for the Barren Islands, east winds at 15 knots for Prince William Sound, and east to northeasterlies at 20 for the North Gulf Coast. Kodiak Island tomorrow, variable winds 10 to 15 knots, the Alaska Peninsula, variable winds, variable to northwesterlies, I'll call it 10 to 15 knots, and light variable winds for Bristol Bay. And for the day Sunday, west to northwest winds, 15 knots there for the peninsula, northwest at 15 for Bristol Bay, and north to northeast winds at 15 to 20 knots around Kodiak Island. Eastern Aleutians tomorrow, variable winds, 15 knots, Adak and Atka, southwest at 20. And for the western Aleutians, anywhere from southwest to northwest winds, but only at about 20 knots. And for the day Sunday, west and northwest winds, 20 to 25 knots there west of Adak. Central Aleutians, southwest 20, right in toward Nikolsky, Unalaska Island, southwest at 15 knots. And for the southwest coast, we've got north winds tomorrow at 15 to 20 knots. About the same here for Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. Light variable winds for the Pribilost, but small craft advisories for St. Matthew Island for northeast at 25. And light variable winds for the Pribilost on Sunday with west to northwesterlies at 10 to 15 knots for the southwest coast. St. Lawrence Island, not too bad, north at 15. Norton Sound, northeast at 10. Up to the north there, brisk wind advisories for the Arctic coast for east-northeast winds tomorrow at 20 to 25 knots. Then from the area here, roughly about Point Lay down to Cape Lisburne, that's where the gale warnings will be. Northeast at 35 knots there, and the Chukchi Sea north to northeast at 20 knots. And then for the day Sunday, Chukchi Sea northeast, north to northeast, 10 to 20 knots. Brisk wind advisories, central western Arctic coast for northeasterlies 25 to 30 knots. Brisk wind advisories for the eastern coast for east winds at 25 knots.